Greetings. Thank you for your time to watch this course. My name is Vlad Turca, and I'm a PhD student at the Bucharest University of Economic Studies, at the Faculty of Agri-Food and Environmental Economics, studying about the topics of food security and the second Sustainable Development Goal, entitled Zero Hunger. Today, we will talk about understanding consumer preferences. This topic is important because we will try to fully understand what consumers prefer in a modern market that we are now in order to have success in launching our sustainable brand or sustainable product. Going to the next slide, the agenda for the day can be seen here, focusing on marketing importance of knowing consumer preferences or consumer behavior, influencing factors of consumer preferences or influencing consumer behavior, measuring consumer preferences through marketing research, consumer education, and marketing a sustainable brand. Subchapter 1. Marketing importance of knowing consumer preferences and consumer behavior. Consumer preferences represent individual subjective tastes in various bundles of goods. These tastes allow the consumer to rank goods by the offered level of utility. Preferences are independent of income and price. Therefore, the financial ability does not determine purchase likes or dislikes. The consumer's objective is to allocate available income in order to achieve the greatest amount of utility. Going to the next slide. How many times do you take decisions in a day? What should I eat today? What am I going to cook? Where am I going to have lunch? If you think about it, we take many purchasing decisions every day without giving them much thought. These decisions, as insignificant as they seem to be at the first sight, make marketers' jobs. Understanding and decoding the processes behind consumers' decisions mean opportunities to grow revenue. Consumers don't just decide to buy. They, their buying behavior is determined by many different factors, and several types of consumer behaviors have been identified as the one of complex buying behavior, the dissonance-reducing buying behavior, the habitual buying behavior, and the variety-seeking behavior. Understanding the consumer decision-making process, we need to take into consideration that there are several steps in order to facilitate a decision-taking. The first one is to recognize the problem. Then the respective person searches the informations. Then the alternatives are evaluated. Then the decision of the purchase is taken. After that is the moment when the respective person analyzes the post-purchase decision. Going to the next slide. The characteristic of consumers' behavior and consumer preferences. Consumer behavior involves products, services, activities, and ideas. It also involves more than buying. It is a dynamic process that involves interaction among many people, many decisions, and also involves exchanges. In the scope of consumer behavior, not only products are included, but also services, activities, ideas, and what is catching fame lately, especially in the agri-food business, is the experience that you're having when you're serving a meal. Consumers' behavior also represent the exchange between human beings. People usually give and they are given. Going to the next slide. Subchapter 2. Influencing factors of consumer preferences. Influencing consumer behavior. Psychological factors. Human psychologies are difficult to measure, but are influent enough to determine a buying decision. The first one is motivation. Motivation includes social needs, basic needs, security needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. The basic needs take a top position as fundamental needs. Therefore, they are more powerful. Perception can be influenced via advertisement, promotions, customer reviews, social media feedback that altogether work to build impressions toward purchasing the product. Learning is dependent on skills and knowledge. Learning could be either conditionally or cognitively. The conditional learning is when a consumer is exposed to a situation repeatedly, while the cognitive learning is when the consumer applies his knowledge and skills to find the satisfaction and obtain a solution from the respective product. The attitude and beliefs refer to a clear influence. Based on these aspects, the consumer behave in a particular way towards buying or not the respective product. Another factors are social factors, families, references group, roles and status, cultural factors like culture, subculture and social class. Personal factors take into consideration age, economic circumstances, occupation, and lifestyle, while the economic factors involve personal income, family income, consumer credit, and liquid assets, and why not savings. Going to the next slide. Social cognitive theory, which is based on the proposition that our behavior is determined by both personal and environmental factors, is composed in the following scheme. The immediate environment contains the peers, the local community, the significant others, and the close family. The wider social context involves societal norms, cultural symbolism, structural issues, and social and economic conditions, while the personal characteristic involves goals, aspirations, self-efficiency, education, symbolic needs, and skills, in order to create a health behavior. Going to the next slide. How can marketing affect consumer behavior and decision? Through audiences' emotional responses, through effective brand imagery and messaging, and catching and capturing audiences' memories. What are current consumer behavior trends? The current behavior trends that are now at a top trending are transparency in your brand, having online buying or e-commerce, keeping the anonymity, and also have a clean and green company. Going to the next slide. Subchapter 3. Measuring consumer preferences through marketing research. Marketing research has evolved as a response to the growing focus on meeting the consumer preferences. Determining reason toward using marketing research is the yearning to control and diminish incertitude and assist decision-taking processes. Marketing researches ensure information gathering required for the correct functioning of the marketing system. Marketing researches shapes individual and organizational consumer behaviors, marking their attitude and views, and analyzing the status and evolution of the marketing environment. Going to the next slide. Depending on the information type generated, two research types are distinguished: qualitative on the left and quantitative on the right. The objective of the qualitative research is to gain an understanding of underlying reasons and motivation, and the purpose is to uncover relevant trends in thought and opinion. The sample is usually small number on non-representative cases. The data and an analysis is non-statistical, and as an example we have the focus groups, individual depth interviews, and group discussion. Qualitative research has as an objective to quantify data and generalize the results from a sample to the population of interest. The purpose is to and is sometimes followed by qualitative research, which is used to explore further findings. The sample is usually large number of cases representing the interest population. The data analysis is statistical. The findings are usually conclusive and descriptive in their nature. As an example, we have the survey and the simulations. Going to the next slide. How to measure consumer preferences in an online survey. Common techniques. The rating method. How important are each of these factors when deciding where to shop? Brand name, value for the money, location, merchandise selection, and parking availability. In this example, survey participants are asked to rate the importance of each factor using a 5-point scale. Data from a rating scale task can show the frequency of very or extremely important ratings across all the participants. This provides pretty good guidelines on what matters the most. The pros. The rating questions are easy to write, program, and analyze. They don't take up that much time or survey space, and is also easy to understand in terms of the results. The cons. They can also suffer from scale bias, which reflects the tendency for participants to use rating scales in different ways, mainly using the positive end of the scale. Nor do rating scales for participants to discriminate and prioritize among items, so they may give higher ratings for everything. When to use. When they are good for situation when the interview space or complexity may be a concern. When you want to evaluate items independently, as an example, we have the satisfaction or performance ratings. If, especially for prioritizing longer lists, getting a general idea what the most or the least important factors are, rating tasks are an efficient way to do the job. Going to the next slide. The ranking, the second technique used in an online survey. Please rank the importance for each when deciding where to shop. We are taking as an example again the brand name, the value for money, location, merchandise selection, and parking availability. One of the strengths of the ranking tasks is that it forces respondents to discriminate between items. They must prioritize which item is in the list is the most important, second most important, and so on. You cannot have ties. You cannot rate everything highly. This means you will get greater distinctions in the resulting data compared to a rating questions. Since participants rank their preferences for items relative to each other in the list, rank data is on a relative scale. Theoretically, the top ranked items could be bad, but just not as bad as the others. Keep this in mind because there are situations where you may not want participants to evaluate items relative to each other, such as rating a performance. Pros of this method. Ranking tests are easy to write, program, analyze, and also they force discrimination between items. The cons, it's a little bit more time consuming for the participants than a rating questions and difficult to do so for longer items of items. Example, people tend not to know how to prioritize items beyond the top 5. The ranking also does not allow ties and provide ordinal data only. Participants rank order items, so unlike rating data, there's no information about how much an individual participant prefers one item over the other, just the order of preference. Ranking is good for situations when interview space or complexity may be a concern, When you have a list of options or competitive set that you need to prioritize, when it's important to discriminate between items and ordinal data. Going to the next slide. Using the maximum difference scaling or the max diff technique in an online survey. When choosing where to shop, which of these factors is the most important and the least important factor? Parking availability, value for the money, brand name, and customer services. For many researchers, the max diff difference technique has become the preferred method for prioritizing a list of items. The allure of it is that it addresses some of the shortcomings of ratings and rankings tasks. Participants are asked to make a choice among a set of 5 or 4 items and evaluate them at extremes. They select their most and least important items. This task is repeated several times, with the choice set changing each time. Participants find this to be an easy to understand task. Evaluating two extremes is much more simpler than having to discriminate among many items of lesser importance. Also, there are no scale points, no scale bias. MaxDiff is a carefully designed exercise that enables the researchers to accurately estimate the strength of preference for each item. Pros: no scale bias, allow discrimination among items, measure strength of preference. It's also a natural task. People tend to make buying decisions by making a choice among a set of alternatives. The cons can be more costly to implement, require special software for setup and analysis, and the interviews take longer time. Might require some explanation on how to interpret and report scores. Use MaxDiff when you don't mind the additional setup complexity, or have a defined choice or competitive set. Then, to prioritize, what's important to discriminate between items, and you need also to understand the preference strength. Going to the next slide. Subchapter 4: Consumer Education. Consumer education can be achieved through various methods by informing the customers about your products or services. The more information a buyer has, the better able they are to make a good choice for themselves. Consumer education is crucial for brands because it can impact every aspect of the customer journey. A strong customer education strategy can lead to tough leadership, better understanding of what your brand offers, and improved conversations in the long run. You want consumers to easily understand what the value is that they get from your product or service, so that making a purchase decision easy for them. A consumer that hesitates at the point of sales is a missed opportunity by the marketing and the sales team. Going to the next slide. Educating customers during the acquisition stage. The benefits of this process. Builds trust with potential customers. Highly curated content and expertise builds trust. Develop deeper level of engagement. Learning experiences offer deeper engagement than most marketing programs. Establish brand as an authority. Tough leaders will help build trust with potential customers. Identify knowledge gaps and access level of product understanding. Powerful feedback loop from potential customers. Develop a more educated buyer. Educated buyers are more engaged and often result in a higher retention rate. Going to the next slide. Important questions you should ask in order to understand the customers more effectively. What core problem of our customers is solved by our product or service? How can our customers determine that the product or service works? Which metrics should they measure? What results should they be achieving? What are our customers' goals outside of our products or service based on their jobs and the pain points they're trying to solve. How does our service or product align with or meet their goals? Do we have different customer goals for every demographic or segment? If this is true, repeat every question for every segment. Going to the next slide. Examples of educational programs. Curated short-form learning content. Online courses, curated learning experiences. Customer advocates and product experts are cultivating thought leaders and knowledge base to deliver online learning. Tips and guide emails campaigns. Schedules weekly guides, tips, and customer learning content. Scheduled webinars, synchronous live learning events, quarterly roundtables, smaller, more intimate peer-to-peer workshops, and breakout sessions with a leading expert as moderator. Going to the next slide. Subchapter 5. Marketing a sustainable brand. Make sure your product works. Ensure the product competitively delivers on both traditional and sustainable benefits. If the product doesn't work, it doesn't matter how green it is. Be genuine in sustainability efforts. Fulfill the sustainability message throughout the entire product's lifecycle, from sourcing of ingredients to the recycling process. Market transparently. Consumers have come to develop a strong relationship with sustainable companies and brands. They demand transparency. Strengthen your core. Corporate social responsibility needs to be at the core of your company's business philosophy, permitting the supply chain all the way to treating employees fairly. Manage any sustainable pricing gap. The high price of many of the sustainable products discourage consumers from purchasing and actually can be perceived as a sustainability tax or surcharge. Eliminating or reducing the price barrier helps to dispel the notion that green products are not just for the elite and will encourage more people to consume better for the environment products. Don't force the consumer to make big trade-offs, whether if it is price, performance, convenience, or a noisy packaging. Most consumers have not proven that they are willing to make significant sacrifices. Have patience. Most environmentally friendly consumer behavior requires behavioral changes, and behavioral changes takes time. Generation Y and millennial consumers are more apt to embrace this change faster, as more and more companies are jumping on the green bandwagon and eliminating some of the barriers. Change will evolve quicker to help shape this shift towards a more sustainable future. Going to the next slide. Just what is sustainable food? Sustainable agriculture is a production that's good for the environment and for the people, that's humane to animals and to food and farm workers, that supports thriving rural and urban communities. In other words, it's the production of food, fiber, or other plant or animal products using techniques that protect the environment, public health, human communities, and animal welfare. It's a way of food production that generates abundance while ensuring future generations can do the same. Going to the next slide. What to keep in mind when selling a sustainable food product in 2021. The top 5 trends for the agri-food industry 2021. The first one is health. Consumers will be more conscious of their health, tailoring diets and lifestyle to meet their personal needs. The second point, convenience and technology. Online capacity has increased as a result of COVID-19, and direct-to-consumers agri-food services will continue to rise in popularity across Europe. The third part, alternative proteins. Plant-based foods and alternative proteins keep gaining ground among consumer preferences, increasing opportunities for existing and new businesses. The fourth trend, Today, sustainability and reducing waste. The term waste is being replaced with side streams, ensuring all excess food enters into the circular economy. Other trends include buying locally and increased focus on sustainable, intelligent packaging. And the fifth current trend in the agri-food industry is new flavors and experiences. Consumers will seek foreign flavors and experiences in 2021 after a year of reduced travel and restriction.
Activity: building up an online survey using any available websites or softwares, such as Google Forms. And you are asked to use the earlier mentioned methods in at least 5 questions or interview points, such as the rating, the ranking, or the max diff methods. The consumers that are asked should be directly in your influence group. And the objectives of these questions and of this online survey is to evaluate the existing of sustainable interest, to assess the availability towards purchasing sustainable products and services, to define the characteristics of a sustainable product or service that is worth considering, and if it has been involved in any sustainable action or follows the concept in their lifestyle.